Hey everybody, welcome back to Chortle Games. I'm Jake.
I'm Steven.
And today, we're starting something new. This is the first part of a series/segment that we're going to be doing here on Chortle Games called Forward Compatible. The graphic is pending, okay? I haven't made the graphic
If there was
yet.
a graphic,
It would be...
If there was a graphic here.
Yeah, right, yeah, somewhere in here.
Pending
But it's not ready yet, so... This is a new thing, okay? We're getting this off the ground, all right? You gotta putter a little bit before you fly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
That's what they that's what they say. Anyway, this is a new show segment, Forward Compatible, and it's basically the premise of the show or series or segment, whatever you want to call it, is. There are so many games, Steven, that you and I, we're older gamers, right? We've gone through several generations. You know, we're in the PS4 now. We're on the cusp of the PS5. You were a PC master race, then you came back to console, and now you're a PC master
Came
race
down
again.
to earth.
Like, we've just,
Yeah.
There's a lot of history behind us, okay? Before we started the channel, so there's lots of old games that we played in our childhood that we just haven't been able to show. We've always talked about on the show, but we've never really gotten to experience and do. So Steven came up with this idea of what if we took those games and we talk about what we remember fondly about them, kind of have a trip down memory lane, and then what if we played them and came back and kind of decided, this isn't really as good as I remember it, or, oh man, this is still as great as it was when I was a kid, yada, yada, yada. Basically taking games that are backwards compatible and seeing if they're forward compatible with the people we are today.
Essentially, yeah.
Essentially.
It's a good, yeah.
It's a good summary.
Good synopsis.
So the way this works, and Steven's going to tell us what our first game is here in a second, but the way this is going to work is you're watching the first part right now. We're about to talk about a game that Steven played when he was younger, and at least 5 years ago. He hasn't touched this game in 5 years.
The only criteria for any of these games that we're going to cover with these segments is that I have not played them for at least 5 years. So there are going to be some semi-recent titles in here, but the 5-year window is the minimum requirement.
Big deal. But anyway, so we're going to talk about what do you remember about this game? Why did you like this game? What do you think special? Whatever, all that good stuff. Then, all week long, for all of our streams on the channel, and anytime we're streaming, it's going to be Steven playing this game. With the idea and hope that Steven will get as far in the game as he possibly can.
Yeah.
Then, we'll see how that goes. Then on Sunday, the following Sunday, this is a week-long thing, Sunday, Steven will come back and he will give a review of the game and basically just kind of talk about what he thought of it now, with all of his new personality and, adulthood. What is it like? What is it like now? So,
Yes.
All right. So, like I said, that's how it's going to work. You'll see this all week long. We'll still have a Let's Play on Wednesday, so you can look forward to that. If you look forward to those, whatever. But every live stream this week is going to be this game. And the first game for the first week of Forward Compatible is going to be...
So.
I've never heard of a game So, Steven.
But good one, Jake. When we're looking at games that we remember as kids, which, again, not the focal point necessarily of this series, but that's kind of where my head went first. If we're looking back, then why not look at the beginning, So I have a nickname on the channel that I have refused to accept. Star Wars Big Boy.
Star Wars Big Boy.
It's been ironic. Like, people have been saying it ironically because I hate where Star Wars is now, but the truth of the matter is there was a point in time when I was a huge Star Wars fan. Star Wars was one of my favorite things when I was a kid. I love the prequels. I still love the prequels. We're not going to talk about that today. But arguably one of the places where it all began, my love for the Star Wars IP, is Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast. This is a game that came out in, I believe, 2002. Now, Jake, I'm going to describe to you something. like I've pretty much already spoiled it because it's the game we're talking about. But what if I told you that there was a game out there where you play as a Jedi who has control over all the most popular Force powers, can use guns and lightsabers, and you can wall run, you could flip everywhere, you could get in actual like intense lightsaber battles, you could like dismember people, just all of the good Jedi action that people have been wanting in a Star Wars video game. We've had that for like 17 years, and it's this game.
See, what I thought you were describing was the new Jedi game that's coming out later this year.
There will not be dismemberment in that one. They're too soft. They're too soft to go that far. Soft. So, back in the day, when Star Wars was not owned by Disney, the extended universe, like everything that happened after Episode 6, was very vast. There was a lot of stuff that they had established through books, video games, and I think even comic books and the like, stuff like that. But arguably the main character of the video game extended universe is a guy named Kyle Katarn. If you've watched any of our videos on this channel where we've talked about Star Wars, if we've been adjacent to the topic of Star Wars, I've mentioned Kyle Katarn.
One of Steven's favorite Star Wars characters.
Yes, definitely one of my favorites. And we're going to do a little bit of a history lesson here of Star Wars first, just so I can introduce the story of this game. Kyle Katarn's story goes all the way back, and this is where I need to make a disclaimer. I haven't fact-checked any of this. I'm solely going off of my memory of what I remember of all of this from when I played it last, which was like when I was maybe a young teenager. So
the whole point of this is literally what do you remember this being like versus what is it really like with who we are today. So
right. A lot of the fact checking is going to happen during the live streams, which is kind of what makes it fun. So I could say something right here that is absolutely false.
Literally a week from today, we could find out was all wrong.
Yes, but that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. We're comparing who we are going into this, remembering things fondly, to actually experiencing it again and seeing if the two versions of ourselves are similar. But into the story. So there's a game called Dark Forces. Was one of the, I can't say it was one of the first Star Wars games, but it was like I think the first Star Wars shooter. And you play as an undercover rebel agent, which repping my rebel colors today on the preview.
Me too, because I'm sunburned. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Nice, that's good. You play as a undercover rebel agent who is disguised as a stormtrooper named Kyle Katarn. He is a double agent working truly for the rebels, and he is on a mission that results in him getting the Death Star plans. Kyle Katarn was the original character to discover those plans. That's how important he was before Disney acquired Star Wars. And he ended up becoming a mercenary, just a hired gun alongside his partner / love interest / whatever. I want to say not Jen Urso, because that's Jan Ors. That's her name, Jan Ors. Weird name, but her name is Jan.
It's a weird noise. Name, but no.
Yeah.
What just happened to me? Name. It's a weird name.
They end up working together, basically as smugglers, mercenaries, whatever. And then in Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight 1, I know, the naming is awful. So the sequel to Dark Forces is the first Jedi Knight game. And in that game, Kyle Katarn discovers his father was Force sensitive, and he also is Force sensitive. So Kyle becomes a Jedi. But he frequently throughout the series quotes, "I'm not a Jedi. I'm just a guy with a lightsaber and some questions." That's like his slogan, because he rejects kind of the order. uses the powers, uses everything that's good, but doesn't quite accept the ideology for a while. And that's kind of what his arc is all about. In Jedi Outcast, he has put away the lightsaber, which this is the game that we're going to play. He's put away the lightsaber, and he's back to doing his mercenary work with Jan. And then something happens that causes him to really dig deep, to kind of revisit his purpose, who he is as a force sensitive and whatnot. And one of the greatest things about Star Wars Extended Universe back before Disney happens in this game. Not specifically, but like one of the greatest aspects of old EU. We get to see Luke's Jedi Order. There's a part in the game where you actually go to Yavin and you visit Luke and you talk to him, and you get to see Luke as a Jedi Master who hasn't hung up his coat and his lightsaber just because he got a little upset. Like it's the Luke we all deserved after Episode 6. And so, and that's kind of one of the great things about the Jedi Knight series, is that it shows us the Star Wars that doesn't need Skywalker, because we get not only the outer rim kind of smugglers, hired guns, bounty hunters kind of aspect of Star Wars, but we also get the Jedi aspect. Without it being all about the destiny of what Luke and his ancestors and his heirs are doing. Like, it's just a story about a guy with a lightsaber and a lot of questions. And it's really refreshing, because the way I remember the story was very much a way that it kind of expanded the universe, where you went to places like Nar Shaddaa, I think Bespin at some point, and this is where it's hazy, because there was a multiplayer mode, and I can't remember what maps were just multiplayer and what maps were actually in the campaign. But it really kind of opened up the universe and kind of showed you places that the movies didn't. And so that was really cool. I always liked Kyle, because he was just this character who kind of walked the line. He was a guy who ultimately was a good person with good intentions that could force lightning and force grip people. He could tap into the dark side. He could do sketchy things, but at the end of the day, he was a good person. So it was almost like he actually was a gray Jedi.
I was just about to ask, is he someone who's considered a gray Jedi?
See, with that, I don't know how to answer that, because I don't know who exactly would be considered a gray Jedi, but for personality-wise and like motivation and everything, he comes off that way.
Right.
Because he's never one to just completely shy away from violence, but he is one to see the sanctity of life and to save those that he can. So he walks the line. He's a very interesting character. He's basically like if Han Solo had the Force. And so I'm really looking forward to diving back into that character again to see how he is. I'm fully expecting him to be way more about one-liners than I remember. Like I'm fully expecting him to not be well written, but just be like really snarky. But
so the story is obviously very intriguing and sounds interesting, and is what you wish the Star Wars universe was today. But talk to me about gameplay. What is the gameplay like? What do you remember about that?
So the gameplay, there was a time in history, and I consider this like a very bright age of video game history when Star Wars was killing it. Like there were probably during the prequel age of Star Wars, all the way through like the beginning of the Xbox 360 generation, Star Wars was making hit after hit. There was Jedi Power Battles and Star Wars Demolition, which were two other games that I absolutely adored that I'm not going to talk about yet because they're probably going to get their own version of this. There was Republic Commando. Holy crap, Republic Commando. There was Battlefront before EA ruined it. There was Galactic Battlegrounds, and then, of course, the Jedi Knight games. Like, Star Wars was expanding its story, its property, through video games that didn't feel like they had to answer to anybody. And that was always really cool. And back then, we often forget about what we had, because these days you think of Star Wars games and you think of disappointment. It's like, man, we've got Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2, and EA is ruining both of them. When are we going to get a good Star Wars game? But the fact of the matter is, we had that.
Hopefully
we had that for a while.
Hopefully
in November, fingers crossed. But we had that for a while, and seeing everyone talk about what they want Jedi Fallen Order to be like, they're like, man, I just wish that we could just, play as a Jedi with, the Force just at our fingertips. I wish that the lightsaber combat was good and mobile, but still kind of punchy. I wish we could use guns, like a Force-wielding gunslinger, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, guys, we had this in 2002. Like, that's literally how this game plays. Because it's a mixture of third person and first person. You can switch however you want, except I think you have to use the lightsaber in third person. But you have a assortment of weapons. You've got the blaster rifles, the blaster pistol. There's a shotgun fletchet gun. There's a sniper, laser, grenade launchers. There's all kinds of stuff. There's a vast selection of weapons, but there's also the lightsaber. Knights of the Old Republic. I forgot about Knights of the Old Republic. How come on, that's Star Wars Renaissance. But I say that because this is one of those games that you get to spend enough time early game without the Force, basically being just a regular guy with guns. You get to get that side of the game where you're fighting off stormtroopers with just whatever ammo you have at your fingertips before you get the lightsaber and inevitably use nothing else. Because, come on.
I was just about to say, because from what I've seen from trailers, the lightsaber combat looks as in-depth as you would want lightsaber combat. It's not like they half-assed guns or even whole-assed guns and then half-assed the lightsaber. They whole-assed both of them. There's two asses in this game instead of two halves.
Exactly. And that's kind of how it feels, because you could have a fun game on your hands even if you just had the guns. You could have a fun game on your hands if you had the lightsaber. That's one of the beauties of this game, because they did it very smart when they designed it, because you have the Force, and the Force is the way the Force works is you've got a meter on the bottom right of your screen. I think it's like below your health bar, and it regenerates constantly. But basically, you can do, like, let's say you want to do like a really big jump. You could just hold down the space bar. I will be playing on PC, by the way. You can hold down the space bar and you'll just jump really high. Like, it's not a double jump, it's just a straight up, you are propelled.
You're using all of your force.
Yes. And as you do that, your force meter depletes, but then it starts to go back up. So basically, you could force lightning somebody till your force depletes. You could force grip and hold them till your force depletes. You get the idea. So they made it to where the force feels very natural to use, and it's constant. Like, you don't feel like, oh gosh, should I use my force lightning now because that's going to use a lot of my mana pool and then I may not be able to use it here. No, that's stupid. Like, the Jedi are Jedi for a reason. The Force needs to be at their fingertips at all times, and this game understands that. And so you could do crazy things, like you could be getting in a lightsaber duel with some guy, and he could be coming after you, and you could like go up to the wall and you could literally wall run to get over a gap or something, or you could run up the wall and then backflip off of it and then get from behind him and then stab him with your lightsaber. You can throw your lightsaber and pull it back to you like a boomerang. There are different lightsaber styles. There's
you can customize your lightsaber?
You can't,
or like
that's a Jedi
like
Knight
different
3.
Like, can I get a bow staff lightsaber or?
Okay, so to clarify, in case anyone's wondering, Jedi Knight 3, which will probably also get an episode in this, is the game that allows you to select either one lightsaber, dual lightsabers, or a lightsaber staff. I always went lightsaber staff because I love Darth Maul's fighting style. It's amazing. But in this game, you get only one lightsaber, but you have 3 techniques. So basically, you could basically chop it up to heavy, medium, light.
Gotcha.
Because one of the fight styles you're hitting very softly, but you're moving quickly, doing a lot of spins and hitting quickly. And then the other one is like a medium technique where you're doing like full swipes and everything, but you're not leaving yourself open. And then there's heavy, where you hold the lightsaber pretty much like this, like a samurai would hold a katana, and you're doing like broad strokes, bringing your blade all the way down, stuff like that. And you could switch between those on the fly.
Oh wow!
Which makes the combat, like you can literally just press a button and your guy will go from like holding the saber like this to like this, and you know what stance you're in.
Right.
And this is just part of the game. It makes lightsaber battles feel very dynamic. They were very smart with the use of force telekinesis, where you have a force push and a force pull. That's it. Like that's all you need. If you need to pick somebody up and move them around, you use force grip. So like one of my favorite things to do when you get powerful enough is like I could force grip somebody over a ledge and then just drop them, or I could force grip them in the air next to a ledge, drop them, and then force push them into the ledge.
Nice.
So like, and they made it to where force pull, for example, if you want to get somebody up close and personal, you can do that with force pull. But also, if you see like a bunch of stormtroopers coming at you with guns, if your force pull is strong enough, you just do force pull, and all of their guns fly out of their hands.
That's cool.
Yeah. So like, it was so ahead of its time in just the way it designed its gameplay, because you guys are going to see this game and you're going to be like, those graphics look like just a dump compared to today. But honestly, back in 2002, those graphics looked fantastic.
Right.
And the gameplay is, I would say, we're going to find out on these live streams, but I would say the gameplay still holds up, because there's not been another game like it, really. And that's been a shame.
So, is there any other aspects of the game you want to talk about before we kind of start to wrap it up?
So,
because I have my question to you is, what do you think you're gonna like? What are you thinking you're gonna walk away from this feeling?
I think that if I had to predict how this is gonna go, I would say that I'm gonna play this game again, and I'm gonna love the gameplay. I'm just gonna have a ball, like actually getting in lightsaber fights or getting in gunfights with stormtroopers and using the Force again, throwing my lightsaber, all that jazz. I feel like the story is not gonna be quite as good as I've been romanticized it in my head. I hope that Kyle Katarn still holds up as a character, but honestly, I'm fully expecting him, like I said, to be a 90s action hero with one-liners and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I think that basically sums it up. Like, I think the story is going to be, it's probably going to feel kind of fan fiction-y, but that's how the movies are these days. So, what's the difference?
The real question is it better fan fiction?
I honestly think that my takeaway from this is that I'm going to, and maybe I'm stubborn, but I'm going to prefer still the story that we're given through this Jedi Knight game than what we got.
Gotcha.
Because like just something about walking around the Jedi Academy, like Luke's Academy on Yavin 4, and seeing other Jedi walk around and training and whatnot. I miss that,
Right.
Like that's something that so many fans really wanted to see. So many people that grew up playing this game or reading the books about like the next generation of Jedi. I loved those books. I loved these games. And so I've been longing for that ever since Disney kind of took over and retconned all of EU.
Right.
And gave us #NotMyLuke. But I expect to walk away from this game really wanting to play Jedi Knight 3, but also just kind of longing for the Star Wars we could have had.
There you go. The other exciting thing, and kind of the reason we've picked this week to do this game and to start the whole series, is Jedi Knight 2 is coming out on Switch and PS4 this week. A
Yep.
It's not a remake. I guess it's a remaster.
It looks a little touched up on the graphics, but the game is the same.
Yeah. It's coming out PS4 and Switch, so if you watch the stream or whatever, this is not sponsored, but if you want it and say, man, I need to try this, I never got to play this, you can check it out for yourself. So it's not just something that you have to take our word for it. You can actually check it out. So,
but it could be sponsored.
It could be sponsored. I mean, I don't know who's getting paid for this anymore. But
whoever you are
that's running this remastered game, you could have come to us first. That's all I'm saying. So, well, Steven, I am excited to see what you end up coming back and talking about, and I'm excited to see the game because this sounds like the perfect Star Wars game. So I'm excited to see.
Sounds like a dream come true, doesn't it?
It sounds like a dream come true. So, whatever. We'll see how this all comes together in the end. I'm really, really curious what you're going to come back and say, because to me, you're going to go hard left or hard right. Like, you're either going to come back and be like, man, I was wrong, this game sucks, like whatever, or you're just going to come back and be like, man, this is just as good as I remember it, Sure, the games have improved, but this is still great. Like, if we could do this, but with today's technology, it would be amazing. So
exactly, it really is a win-win for you guys, because either A, I come back in a really good mood, or B, you get to see me fall flat on my face and be more wrong than I've ever been wrong before. So you guys are going to be entertained either way.
I feel like they'd rather the second option there, personally, but anyway. Okay, so this is the first part. This is kind of like I said. This is where we've talked about what Steven remembers and what he's hoping to see this week. This all starts tonight, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can come right back here on Chortle Games. Steven will be live playing the game. He's all of our streams this week. That might be Tuesday, might be Thursday. We're definitely going to have a Friday and Saturday stream. This is all going to be Jedi Knights 2. So buckle in, get excited. Like I said, we'll have a Let's Play Wednesday. That'll be, I think it's actually me playing Untitled Goose Game with my wife. So you'll have, semi-normal Chortle Games week, but Steven's going to be doing this on all our live streams. So, and really, if anything, it gets you more live streams. So if you like live streams, you're going to enjoy this. So, but the first one is going to be tonight, 9 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. So come in for that. Of course, you can follow us on Discord. You can get to that in the link in the description of this video. You can subscribe to us, hit that bell so you know when we're live. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Chortle Games. That way you know when we're going live and when this is all happening. So come watch Steven get his first taste of the game and start to figure out. If I had to predict how this is going to go, the first live stream, you're going to be real excited and you're just going to be on cloud 9. So like whatever his opinions are on episode 1 in the first live stream, they're going to change. And so like by the third or fourth live stream, I think is when we'll really get your real opinion and nature.
It's funny you say that, because I think it's actually going to start off rough.
Really?
Because remember, you don't get force powers at the beginning of the game. You have to slog around as a regular guy that just has some guns.
Slog around.
So I think by like episode 2 or 3, when I get force powers, that's when it's going to be like, okay, yeah, here we go. Like, it's going to start off kind of like, oh, it's so good to be in this universe again. Why can't I jump high? This sucks. I'm like, I can jump now. Oh, yeah. It's going to be a really weird line graph.
I can't wait.
That's what we're going to have.
It's going to be fun. But anyway, like I said, tune in. Be sure to check that out. It all starts tonight, Monday, 9 o'clock Central Time. Sorry we didn't have a podcast this week. We will have a podcast next week, so look forward to that. Anyway, Steven, good luck playing your game. I hope your nostalgic hopes aren't crushed. And we will see you back Sunday with a review of Jedi Knight.
Yes.
Forward compatible review. So we'll see you then. Bye.
I think you meant to say good luck and may the force be with you.
That's a better line. Goodbye.